Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another live Facebook awesome video from our tiny studio office. I don't know if we're on time or not. Usually we're like a minute or two behind. Thanks for bearing with us if we were. For anybody watching this on Facebook, this is live. We want your questions. We want your input. Please use the comments. This is how people type. Type into the comments like that and ask us questions, say hi, anything like that. Rob will try and spot those as they go and shoot them my way. If you are watching this on YouTube after the fact, thanks. Please like and subscribe, as the kids say. And please check out our other videos. There's a lot of other cool stuff we've done over the years, and we've been trying to do these live videos from time to time and showcase new stuff, old stuff, things that are retiring, things that are interesting, and things we want to just sort of plant some seeds about. So today, we've got a couple of new products that just debuted. We've also got some things that are in stock, nearing the end of stock, etc. So we're going to kind of do a pretty broad update. I think, let's see here. Let's just start quickly with the new-ish. This is probably anybody who watched our last video probably saw these. These are the latest in our Mandalorian themed decor. This is 18 inches tall, all made in the USA, hand painted, all of that. This is a great wall decor piece or a shelf piece. It's the Mudhorn, and if I have to tell you it's a Mudhorn, you're probably watching the wrong video, but it is a real skull interpretation of the symbol from the Mandalorian's shoulder pauldron. I think it's that shoulder for him. I'm doing the Boba Fett shoulder. This is made flat on the back, so it will sit nicely on the wall. You can display it at whatever angle you want, and again, it does sit nicely on a shelf, which is kind of cool. The other thing we have here is also from the Mandalorian. This is our real pewter Mythosaur skull, which was based on sort of the bone skull version of that we've been selling for a long time. This is the sort of Beskar interpretation of it, but this is actually made from metal. It is very, very heavy. It's over, I think it's about 1.5 pounds or 1 pound 4 ounces, something like that. It is a surprisingly compact and heavy piece. They also do have the acrylic stands. This is one of those things that is actually being phased out soon. So if you have ever ordered one of our resin version of this skull, the metal version of this skull, or the bone version of that skull, the acrylic stands are no longer going to be available starting in the next few weeks. Basically, we're down to whatever stock is on hand on those, and then we're going to discontinue it. So we're sorry about that, but people have had a few years to grab them. If you haven't yet grabbed them, I would suggest now is really a good time to do it. We don't have a ton of stock on each. There's the two different versions of them, but if you grab them relatively quickly, you should still be good. Another one that's getting low on stock is the Jabba the Hutt maquette. So this is based on the original Phil Tippett concept sculpture for Jabba the Hutt. Painstakingly recreated to match the original that's in the Skywalker Ranch archives right now. This was an edition of 250 pieces. I believe we're down to fewer than 25 of them at this point. This was digitally sculpted by my friend and the extremely talented Tony Cipriano, who used very high resolution photos from all angles to recreate this thing in 3D and for us to do it. And he really was painstaking in how he matched the roughness of the various Phil Tippett sculptures, and even things like the cracks in the wood base and the little, damage and deterioration that was in there. We matched up all of that stuff. This is one of my favorite things that we've ever done. I'm sure in here this thing just looks like it's all yellow too. There are layers of paint on this, but the lighting in here is terrible. That's something we got to work on. But yeah, so that's down to, like I said, I think about 25 pieces out of the edition of 250. Thank you to everybody who brought one of those into their home, your homes. And if you haven't yet, I wouldn't suggest waiting too much longer because there's only 25 left. CZ3 is getting down to the wire as well. I think there are 14 or 15 of those left at this point, and that was an edition of 50. There was another smaller edition of 15 signature models. Those sold out within minutes. The numbered edition, it's in here, it always looks plain white. Trust me, there's a lot of weathering on this. They're all hand painted and hand weathered here in our studio. They're working on 10 of them right now, and then we're just down to a handful left after that. So, if you're waiting on that, why? Just grab it. There's a great payment plan on it. I think it's up to, I think we've set it now at a 5 payment plan of about $300 a month. It's a pretty good way to get a hold of that. Really obscure droid, and we scanned the original prop that's up at the Skywalker Ranch. So we got to go in, examine the heck out of that real thing, digitally laser scan it, and then recreated that thing right off that scan. It's warts and all the little bumps and asymmetry and, you know, weirdness about him. He is such a really cool, goofy looking droid. It's something that, to me, is so 1977 Star Wars, that first movie look, stuff that, you know, he turns up again in Return of the Jedi in the background of Jabba's palace, but he is really, he's a little squeaky on the stand.
You need to oil him.
This one. But it's classic 77 Brian Muir sculpt, and really cool that we could just do that right off the original like that. Any questions before I get into
not too many questions. No.
Okay.
Marco says the Gamorrean God maquettes we got are great.
Thank you, Marcos. Yeah, we're excited about those too. We just wrapped up, I think, the first 100 of those. They're starting to make another small wave of them. If anybody's wondering about that, I don't have one within reach, but it's based on the Gamorrean fighter concept maquette made for The Mandalorian. It was sculpted by my friend Tony McVeigh, who was also the guy who sculpted Salacious Crumb. He worked on Size Noodles. He worked on a lot of cool stuff for Return of the Jedi back in the day, the Rancor life-size costume that they tried to make. So Tony made that for Mandalorian, and very lucky for us, still had things like molds laying around that we could access for some stuff. So there's a piece where you're getting the ultimate in lineage right out of those original molds, and something that you're going to find, you know, wart for wart, wrinkle for wrinkle. It is the concept sculpture that Jon Favreau shared on Instagram. Literally the first thing he shared about Mando Season 2 was that maquette, and now there's a way to bring that actually home, which is kind of neat. Speaking of The Mandalorian, so let's start with 94. That's the simpler one. So we've been doing this line of wood plaques, and for us, it's kind of a way to do some, you know, nice, low-cost way to bring Star Wars decor into your house. We're trying to do things that are more than just the typical posters and logos and stuff that are really, you know, has some cool factor, has some kitsch factor, definitely has some stealth geek to it, stuff that you could put up anywhere, and maybe people don't even know that it's a Star Wars nerdy thing, and, you know, your friends come in and they do the Boba Fett nod, the little like... Docking Bay 94. This is one of those things, I don't know, Rob, when did you first notice the 94 symbol
Late.
in the wall?
Yeah,
right?
very
like,
late.
Real
Yeah.
late. So when they're walking into Docking Bay 94, there is a carved symbol on the wall. For decades, people just thought it was like random stuff on the wall, but when they really looked closer, they realized, oh wow, that's a stylized 94. Which, like, this has got to be tough to teach in like 3rd grade for kids in Tatooine. You know, like it's like Mrs. Tusken Raider. I can't get this right. I assume Tusken Raiders are the teachers. So what we tried to do, we actually did one of these in a slightly larger size in resin, fully 3-dimensionally sculpted with stucco and all of that. We still have those available. They're, I think, $175 or $179. They're made in the US. And we thought, you know, now that we're doing this wood plaque line, we had done a wood plaque version of the Docking Bay 35 symbol from The Mandalorian. Let's revisit 94, but do it in a real cost-effective way. So these are only $59. They're on the website now. These are actually shipping right away if you order them. And this is printed, but has a 3-dimensional carved in, about a 1/4 inch deep symbol. Does that capture well in the light here?
Really close. Yeah, you can see it.
Cool. We also did this little ribbing around the side, which is, I think, is a really nice little thing. It's kind of a nod to the ribbing around the doorways in the entrance, all the entrances in Tatooine. So when you get like 3PO with "lock the door," R2, you look inside that doorway, there's this ribbing around there. When they walk into the cantina, they've got it. So we thought that was a nice way to finish this out and not just have a flat side. This is a nice way for someone who maybe avoided that first version of it because the price was a little high, to have a way to bring this into your house. And again, this is the sort of thing you put on a wall and nobody but you knows this is Star Wars. This is not something where everybody comes in and knows exactly what it is. As I was just saying, there's a lot of Star Wars fans who didn't know what that was for years, so it's really cool. Going even a step beyond that, in terms of Stealth Geek, is this one. Now, anybody who has been to one of the panels that I do at Star Wars Celebration, the stuff where you'd see either me and Amy or me and Pablo Hidalgo doing these talks about the behind the scenes of the cantina and showing all rare photos and stuff, you might not recognize this right off the bat. Now that The Mandalorian's come out, you probably have a little bit of a better shot of it, at least of recognizing it. But so this is a recreation of the logo that is over the doorway of the Star Wars Cantina from the first film. The sort of in the movie itself, you barely glimpse this. You get like a picture of about like half of the sign, not even. And for years, that's all we knew. We knew that the first symbol was that, and we knew half of this symbol, maybe even the full symbol at one point, and that was it. We searched through Lucasfilm's archives and still only found half the sign. Eventually, Brandon Allinger, who's at Prop Store now, one of the top guys in terms of real original movie props, and Roger Christian, who was an art director or set decorator for, I think it was art director, had gone through some old photos, and Roger Christian found a photo that presumably was just showing the back end of a dewback. But we looked past that amazing dewback butt, and in the background of it, unlit, was the full cantina sign. And because it was unlit, it really just looked like red letters across the whole thing, but it was enough that we could figure out what the four symbols actually were, and that there were only four. And so from that, we recreated the logo, and we debuted it at one of these Star Wars Celebration panels when The Mandalorian came around, and they found out they were going to be revisiting the cantina. They contacted us for a few things. One, they wanted the IG-88 heads to put behind the bar, and so we made them a bunch of those. We actually still have the same mold that we made those for the show, and it's something we've used on a number of commercials and things, recreating that scene. And it's another cool piece, like a found item, but it's now it's got this lineage to the Mandalorian show, which is kind of neat. And the other thing they asked for was, do we have the logo art to put over the door? And so of course we did at that point. Chris Reif had recreated it for us, and so we gave Lucasfilm back that art, and then they used it over the door in the cantina for The Mandalorian. So it's really full circle. You have something that we scratched and clawed and researched and tried to figure out what the heck it was. We finally figured it out. We carefully recreated it, and then it goes back into the production people, and then they use that recreation on the new media, the Mandalorian show. And so this plaque is that same exact logo on the Mandalorian. So even on our wood plaques, there's lineage now. But I just think it's so cool. Again, like super Stealth Geek. You're going to put this up, and no one's going to know what this thing is but you and your friends. So give it a look. I think this is $39.99. It is on the website right now. These are shipping in, I think they say 4 to 6 weeks. We actually think it's going to be ahead of that, but we usually try and be conservative with that stuff. And yeah, prove to your friends how much of a geek you are with somebody said they thought it looked like Olga. I always thought it looked like Spaga for some reason. And so that's kind of been the rallying cry. We've always ended up calling it the Spaga sign around here anyway. But it's neat, and Rob did the actual art for the rest of the plaque on here, giving it both the faux dimension and even like that little hint of like it's a lit sign, and then there's plenty of just distressing and age and all that like kind of cool Star Warsy lived-in look type stuff. Let's see what else we have. So Chewbacca, I'm gonna sit back. So we actually posted about this a little earlier this week. So that's one of our custom Chewbacca busts. That comes with the head you see there, the bandolier, full-size shoulders, all the hair, etc. The head is actually posable, so you can tilt it left and right, forward and back, and it can turn. And the tilt is everything with Chewie. You got to give him like that little, kind of puppy dog tilt. He's got translucent resin teeth. He's got a silicone tongue. Every layer of this thing has detail on it. The eyes especially are just incredible when you see them up close. And those are professional prosthetic, like FX level eyeballs that we use on those. The team actually just finished up about 13 of those busts. And while they were doing them, they were going to do a run of 10. I had them do a few extra. So if anybody's been thinking about picking up one of those, we actually have 3 of them that are ready to ship. So if you go to the website, go to the statues and busts section, you'll find the Chewbacca bust, and you can actually place an order. And if you're paying in full, it'll ship, within a few days rather than the usual, which is like 10 to 12 weeks, or based on the terms of your payment plan. What else do we have? I guess we can talk about some chess guys. I mean, this table seems to think so. Let's pull these guys out because they're a set, aren't they? Here we go. I've even got the plaque. These might be my 2 favorites. I mean, maybe other than the green guy and the yellow guy, the kind of the main 2. So this is one of the chess 2-packs that we have. This is Molotov and Hujix. Molitor's name used to be Grimtosh, which I thought was better because he sounded like he was like a Dinobot, but unfortunately now he's Molotov, which is still pretty cool. I mean, as names go. He doesn't have any weird apostrophes and stuff, so that's pretty neat. Each one of these 2-packs includes 2 figures. Each are made directly from the original 3D files that were used to bring these back to life for The Force Awakens. Those files, in turn, trace back to the original characters for almost, to the original puppets for almost all of them. Hujix was photogrammetried at the Lucasfilm Archives. Molitor was scanned by Peter Jackson, who had the original puppet. And lucky for us that Lucasfilm went to Phil Tippett to do this stuff, because Tippett's team really put a lot of effort into getting these faithful and accurate to those original puppets. And then we put a ton of effort into taking those digital files, reposing them, and being able to produce them at 1-to-1 scale to the original puppets. So pretty substantial. Even Hujix is kind of the smallest of the bunch. Like he is not a small little guy there. And he's probably the shortest this way of the bunch, but he's still got some substance this way and this way. And I don't know how great the lighting is in here for paint, but we're talking subtle green stripes distressing on all of the horns and teeth, lots of claws, and then this fella, he's just so cool. He's like an ant crossed with an ape, crossed with an elephant. Layers of paint on him, violets and blues and pinks. Oh my! Lots of little subtle detail in the snout, in the hands, etc. All of these are made in the USA, hand painted. The signature series that we did of this, it was a 10-figure set that was nearly $5,000, sold out in 36 minutes. That surprised us. At least it surprised me. I thought they'd go at least a week or 2. And even that I thought might have been optimistic, but it was really cool to see how people responded to that, how many jumped on that, and thank you all to the 77 people who managed to get one of those. We greatly appreciate you joining us on that, and we're anxious to get them made and start getting them to folks in late this year, early. We have them scheduled for early 22, but we're actually already starting production on these just to get ahead of it. For the people that missed out on that signature edition, that again sold out in 36 minutes, we have the option to get most of the characters as 2-packs. Those 2-packs are still currently available on the site, and they're only available until, I believe it's June 18th. It was a limited time release. So, if you were thinking about these at all, this is the time to grab them. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't give us a chance to change that date at all. I don't think we will, but get in, grab them now while you still can, and don't. I have a feeling this is one of those things where we're going to get a lot of people on end of June. They're going to reach out and say like, oh, can I still get those? Don't put it off. Don't forget it. Each of the 2-packs is going to come with a numbered plaque. Each of the 2-packs comes with the wooden display bases, but they also display on their own. The only ones that can't stand on their own, and I'll grab these, and so they actually come with 2 different bases, is the Body Slam set. So, this one comes with both an acrylic base and the black base, and it screws into the big guy's foot. And the little guy's just having fun. And by little, I mean like, look at him in my hand. He's still, the production nickname for this guy was Hunk, and they're right. Like, he's just a hunk of resin. These guys are all, again, cast in the USA, hand painted in the USA. The little hairs and armpit hair and all of that added by our team right here in New York. The separate shirt with the leather flaps and all of that stuff, again, all added right here. The 2-pack is the only one that does need a base, but we've given you a clear one as well in case you're one of the people who picked up one of our cafe tables here, which, by the way, these, go figure, as soon as we put these guys up for sale, we sold a bunch of these tables. So if you're thinking about a place to display these guys, this is a pretty good way to do it, especially if you're taking those wood bases out of the mix. They look pretty sharp on there. And why don't I just bring the other guys all into the mix while we're at it. So what do we got? We got Hoodrix and Molotov. We got the Body Slam. Who else is together? It's Mr. Green here. So, what is that? Monarch and Geek? It's like G with 3 H's and a K. They do this just to mess with us. Mr. Green is what they called him in production, so we kind of stick with those kind of things. All of these guys, so this is another of the 2-packs here. So that's 2, that's 2, that's 2. And then we got the 2 guys with the extra apostrophes. So, and again, just size on these guys, mass on all of them. Like they're pretty big, they're real substantial. They're loaded just with detail and warts and bumps and little claws and
We had somebody ask, how tall is the Body Slam set?
I want to say 13 inches. That is actually listed on the website. If you scroll down on the page with the 2-packs, we did take a measurement off of that and off of Crouch just to give a range for that. The worm guy always surprises me how big he is too. If you were to stretch him out all the way, I think he's like 15 inches long or something. It's pretty neat. Because that was the original file on this, is all stretched out because they made him into a silicone puppet. So this is what all of the 2-packs look like on one of these tables. It's actually a really good fit. The table is technically slightly scaled up from normal, and it really balances nicely with the size of the figures as is. And it makes me want to play chess. Any other questions coming up?
Yeah, I only backtrack a bit.
Yep. And while he's looking for questions, if anybody has any questions, this is live if you're watching on Facebook, so please ask us anything you want.
Well, Justin says it's nice to see the size of the hollow-chest pieces next to busts.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's kind of telling when you start to see that too.
Ryan says, let's not forget to talk about Maquette Rancor.
Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah.
I like when people just try and like trick us into making something,
get one more about Rancors. When's the last shipment of Rancors going to go out?
So the last batch of Rancors is literally in production right now. They will be, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks should be the last one shipping out. The team has been doing them in batches of about 25, 24, 25. This last batch is a little under that. They do take a pretty substantial amount of time once we get all the castings done, assembled. There's a lot of paint on those guys, and it's all hand paint. There's no stencils, there's no airbrushes, there's no spray cans. Like, it's literally, you know, the people in the shop next door touching things one at a time with little paint brushes and chip brushes. The other thing they're working on, you know what? I mean, similar to the Chewbacca, if anybody has looked at, we should have brought like some of the Tauntaun horns in or something. If anybody's been looking at the life-size Tauntaun busts we do, and I'm doing this because they're massive, those busts, we have a row of them going next door. I believe they have 7 going, and I know 6 of those are already sold. But that should mean we have 1 extra bust in the works. I'm going to say those are 2 to 3 weeks from completion. So if that's something that you've ever thought about picking up, you can drop us a line. You can order it through the site. If you pay in full, it'll ship pretty quickly, as opposed to, I think they're normally slated at like 16 weeks. We try and do that where we can. If it's a custom run of something, if we are, you know, some of them it's tough just because of the nature of how these things are made. They're all by hand. They take a lot of time. But wherever possible, I try and give them 1 or 2 extra when we do them, so that people can, you know, be able to scoop something up and bring it home quick.
We have someone asking for close-ups of the body slam. So maybe if you want to hold it up, I can kind of get in close.
Yeah, or maybe I'll like move some of these guys around. This is riveting television for anybody else. No, hopefully it's kind of cool to people. I don't know. You know, I just love Hunk's face.
Yes, great.
Like, you know, Mr. Big with his extra rows of teeth and his little horns and his hairs and all of that. This is the stuff that I really, you know, live for. When it comes to a figure like this, being able to say, okay, this isn't just a resin figure. This is 2 figures interacting. This is, you know, little tiny hairs glued in one at a time, armpit hair, back of the neck hair, teeth, eyeballs, a separate rubber shirt, leather flaps, a belt. You know, there's a ton of work that goes into, his little leather wrist wrap and everything. I mean, there is a ton of work that goes into this guy. Even things like the leather straps. You know, those flaps don't just go on as is. You know, somebody has to cut them. Somebody has to distress them. We put paint on them after that. Like, you know, every piece that goes on gets attention, weathering, distressing, time. Dare I say love. We really do want to make sure that people who are getting this have things that feel like the real puppets. When you look at them, I mean, if anybody hasn't watched yet, on our YouTube, you'll find there's a video where I got to Zoom chat with John Berg and Dennis Muir and Phil Tippett. And Phil and John were the ones that made the original puppets. They have been so complimentary for what we did, and I believe Phil's quote was that, you know, when he has these in front of him, unless he physically touched them, he wouldn't know whether these were the original puppets or ours. And that's as great a recommendation as we could ever hope to get. I know Phil has a really discerning eye, and it's just, it was so nice having him be a part of this project, supplying us that digital, answering hundreds of questions from me, like in the middle of the night, about this guy's vest and what type of lizard to mold to get the pattern and things like that. And just, you know, having that involvement, to me, it goes beyond the lineage of the pieces. You know, it's like, it's one thing for us to have that digital that his team made, but it's another to literally have the people that made this stuff in 1977, and then also the new people that worked on the new version of it, responsive to us throughout the whole process, and to be a part of that, and to give us, you know, all of these great inside little tips and things that we worked into these for you. And that just, to me, makes these something that's really special and more than just your typical lineage piece.
Garrett's asking, are there any APs, artist proofs, on the numbered set?
On the numbered set, generally speaking, our stuff, APs are for either someone involved in a project or Lucasfilm gets a copy. When it comes to what people are able to buy, it's one of the numbered editions, and that's how we work that.
I think we are caught up in questions.
Excellent. Well, I think we've covered just about everything we've had to. If anybody comes up with other questions, you can always ask them in the comments, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. Thank you for watching as always. We really appreciate you following what we do. If you don't already follow us on Facebook, please do. If you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe, all of that. And thanks. We'll chat with you again soon. Have a great day.